In a sudden burst of motion, Bert bolted for the window, launched himself into the air, crashed onto a parked car several stories below, and vanished. Why, hello there. Welcome back to Mystery for Two podcast. I'm Katie.
I'm Jack.
And we are on episode number 10 of the podcast.
10?
10 episodes. Lucky number 10.
I had 4 different numbers in my college soccer days, one for each season, but I did wear 10 my senior year.
I think before we get into this really interesting tale today, which I can confirm is a solved mystery.
Thank God.
Because we've been due one. It's been a minute.
You had everyone listen to not just one, a 2-part situation to give us nothing, frankly.
Oh, it wasn't nothing.
You gave us no answers.
It was an interesting story, and we're hoping for justice one day, but that's just how the cookie crumbles, everyone. Not every mystery is solved, but I can confirm today's mystery is solved, although it is a twisty-turny tale. Lots of, we're going through some tunnels today.
A windy road.
Well, yeah, more so like a tunnel underground that leads to a sewer system. That is what we're doing today, but
very interesting.
More on that in a second. I think before we get into all that messy business, we do Jack's Questions Corner.
Sure.
Do you want to unpack last week's question, which I'm already forgetting?
Well, how can you forget?
The karaoke.
Goatee karaoke. We actually had an array of answers. Some that I know, some that I don't know. We have No Scrubs is up there. TLC, I mean, that's a banger.
Who said that? Give her a shout out.
No Scrubs. Christina Alexandra. I don't know if it's Alexandra the first name or Christina. I'm going to go with Christina.
Shout out Christina.
Shout out Christina. Lucky by Britney Spears. I'm not familiar.
That's a great one. You know that song. It's like, well, they say she's so lucky. She's a star.
Still
but
not familiar.
Cry. I'll spare you guys the rest, but...
All right, last one I'll give a shout out.
Song.
Because again, this song is dear to my heart for a different reason. Vanilla Ice Baby.
Another great one.
But do you know why that's dear to my heart?
Because there's like a soccer chant that has to do with that.
Yes.
I know that the
there
soccer...
we go. You don't know Oasis and Champagne Supernova is my favourite song, but
Rice.
You're locked in on Arsenal.
Declan Rice.
There we go.
Is a soccer player, and they have like made a remake of Ice Baby. Rice Baby.
Exactly. And that
for Arsenal
rolls quite nicely in to this week's question of the week. It's sports themed.
Oh.
And I got the inspiration, funnily enough. So you went out last night, right? With your friends to play that game that I cannot pronounce.
Mahjong. I've been learning how to play Mahjong.
Your Mahjong era.
It's really complex, but very fun. So we have like this group going where we do lessons, and you were at home brainstorming your question.
No, I was watching soccer, and that I was streaming on Peacock, and then Peacock have the rights to the Winter Olympics.
Right.
So I just finished watching some soccer, and then I was doing a little bit more work and busy kind of on the kitchen counter, and over my shoulder behind me, TV was on, and it just rolled into the Winter Olympics. Mm-hmm. I get food delivered, and I was like, I guess I'm watching the Winter Olympics because we're watching that new show right now, His and Hers, on Netflix.
Highly
Outrageous.
recommend. Highly recommend. If you guys haven't seen it, definitely watch it.
We're going to finish that tonight.
It's called
2 episodes
His
to go.
and Hers.
It's so good. And do you know what the luge is?
Yeah.
So that is what was on. So I was watching the luge, and my question is, and this is both Winter Olympics or regular
Summer.
Olympics, I guess, whatever you call it. If you could win a gold medal in any category or any event, what would it be? Not what do you think you'd have the best chance in, but if you could just,
snap your fingers and
have that wish or
become a prodigy.
All of a sudden, for example, you're Michael Phelps and you can win, whatever swim event you want.
Okay.
I think he won all of them. So yeah, I'm intrigued.
What would yours be?
I'd be in athletics, and I would want to be the fastest man on the planet. I'd just want the 100 meter,
running,
like the Usain Bolt.
Oh, I mean, that's so impressive.
That's just the one that just sticks out to me.
For me, it would be figure skating. I would love to just nail a routine in figure skating. I feel like it's so impressive to be able to move your body like that, but also be on skates, on ice. Like, it's so impressive and very beautiful. So I'd love to be a professional ice skater.
That is a good one.
But write your submission in the comments down below on Spotify, on YouTube, on Instagram. And if you get lucky, Jack will read your answer next week. Are you ready to get into this week's story?
I am.
This week's mystery?
More ready than I've ever been before.
So it's Monday, July 19th, 1976, and we are in Nice, France. Bastille Day, which took place just the week prior, is a national holiday in France. You might have heard of it. And in the year 1976, it fell on a Wednesday. So because of that, businesses, schools, and government offices were all closed pretty much Wednesday till Sunday that previous week. So the vibes right now are post-holiday. People are, getting back to work that first Monday after a holiday weekend, which
the woat
is always pretty hard, getting back in the swing of things after celebrating in the summer sun and taking some much needed time off work. But here we are, Monday morning. And in our story, we are inside of the Société Générale Bank. I hope I said that right. Société Générale Bank. There's a lot of accent marks. It's obviously French. And this bank was located on the main shopping street in Nice and was a massive fortress-like building that was a full city block in length and half a block in width. And right now, a crowd is forming inside of the bank because customers are being told that the bank has no cash.
Run on the bank.
And not only that, but the bank's vault won't open. And employees were growing increasingly worried, so the specialists were brought in. By 10 a.m., they arrived and got to work trying to open the massive steel door of the vault, but the lock mechanism stayed stuck in place and wouldn't budge. So they were perplexed by this. They couldn't seem to get it open. I mean, things happen, but nothing like this, where they fully just can't even get the thing open. And so naturally, the higher-ups of the bank started to feel desperate as chaos started to ensue inside and outside of the bank. After hours of work without any solution, the decision was made to just simply smash through the wall and repair the lock from the inside so they could get their customers their money, try to calm down the panic, and they'll deal with fixing the wall later.
A good just smash everything never goes out of fashion.
Right. Just
sledgehammer.
When in doubt, you reboot, or in this case, just smash through the wall. So they used jackhammers to get through the vault wall, which was made of reinforced concrete and steel. So it was no easy task, and it took a few hours. But after a few hours, they were able to create a small opening in the wall, and police officers peered inside. What do you think they saw in there?
Emptiness. Money gone.
Emptiness. You're somewhat correct, but somewhat incorrect. One by one, the men peered inside of what remained of the vault. And as you might predict, from the way I'm setting this up, there was a robbery. There were safe doors hanging open, steel grates that had been ripped apart, and the floor was buried under 6 inches of paper. So there seemed like a sea of paper, a mountain of discarded checks, bonds, stocks, love letters, bank books, wills, deeds, some instantly cashable, all valuable, just littering the ground inside of this vault.
So they didn't take everything.
And some of these were instantly cashable, so valuable. Why would people leave these behind? Well, sticking out from the papers were muddy tools, crowbars, chisels, drills, jacks, axes, blowtorches, jackhammers, and 27 highly flammable gas tanks. So in short, the bank had been robbed and the thieves had left a spectacular mess behind. But that wasn't even the strangest part. The men also saw, when they peered through the hole, a portable stove, empty food wrappers, and dirty dishes.
So they'd been there a while.
Stale bread crusts, remnants of cheese, empty wine bottles, and silver heirloom bowls that someone had used as a toilet.
Very nice.
So the robbers had not only looted the vault, left a huge mess behind, they also seemingly made themselves right at home and had themselves what looked like a picnic inside of the bank vault. And so within 15 minutes, the bank was swarmed with cops, including every important policeman in Nice. This was a big deal. So to kind of paint you a picture of what this bank vault looked like, or like the blueprints of the vault, if you will, it was a large bank vault comprised of 3 connected strong rooms, which are essentially super secure rooms made from steel. So there were 3 rooms total. And knowing this, investigators were worried that the robbers could still be inside of one of the rooms and, were maybe prepared to launch an attack or launch a retaliation if they were attacked. So, they were gearing up for a potential standoff with armed criminals. But they ran into a problem when they realized that the hole that had been drilled in the wall, when they couldn't figure out the lock mechanism, they drilled that hole in the wall. It was a small hole because the material of the wall was so thick. It was like reinforced concrete and steel or something. They couldn't manage to get a larger hole in the wall at that point in time. So they looked at this tiny hole in the wall and were like, okay, how are we going to get inside of the vault to go and find these robbers that had clearly made a mess of the place? So they looked over at this detective named Pierre Lecoq, who was the smallest of the bunch. And they were like, perfect.
Small cock.
They were like, you, short king over there. And Pierre was asked to squeeze himself through the hole in the vault, sorry. And he was just the right size to fit in this hole. But the thing is, in the process of squeezing himself through this hole, his pants got snagged and ripped off. So by the time he got himself onto the ground inside the vault, he was in just his underwear.
Pierre.
Yeah.
Negative aura. That's what the kids call it
what
these
do you
days.
mean?
It was embarrassing.
Oh, nice. I don't even know what that
aura?
means. Negative aura?
You have aura.
Well, I know what an aura is, but
yeah, negative aura, you embarrassed yourselves.
Yeah, but he also was the only one that could fit in there. I would honestly be like, damn, I can't fit through the hole.
I don't know.
But anyway, so once he gets inside, they hand him a gun through the hole that he was able to fit through. So he was armed. And he later said, it's hard to feel brave with no pants. So,
True.
So picture Pierre in there with his gun and in his underwear, preparing to stand off in front of these potentially armed criminals.
Have you ever heard of the theory of if someone's trying to fight you, sometimes if you just strip naked, then you'll freak out the person that's trying to fight you, and that's just a good way to balance
to diffuse.
Or tip the scales in your favor. If they're a lot bigger than you, you're like, all right, let's do this. I'm stripping naked. Let's do this thing. It might just freak the person out.
Okay, well, I'll keep that in mind. Unfortunately, all the thieves were gone, and so was roughly $10 million, mostly cash, plus gold bars and loose jewels from 317 safe deposit boxes that had been cut open. About 10% of the safety deposit boxes had been smashed. So it was a huge bank, and yet that's how much they were able to
still a lot of money.
Yeah, $10 million. However, the robbers littered the floors with a bunch of things. Like I said, all of those valuable papers, they discarded pendants, brooches, this huge ruby ring, among some other jewels. And investigators realized, they're like, oh, wait, these guys are savvy. They were, not taking anything that could be easily traced.
I see.
And it's like they knew that, so they must be like career criminals or smart enough.
It was planned. Right.
Or like orchestrated by someone who's clearly, this isn't their first rodeo. So they, at once were like, okay, we're looking for some sophisticated criminals. And detectives soon discovered that the vault door wasn't jammed by accident. It had been welded shut from the inside by the robbers, and they'd even dug a tunnel.
I was waiting to ask you about the tunnels.
Well, the tunnel's a huge piece of this. So this heist that we're about to talk about today is referred to as one of the most artistic bank heists in history, because not only did the robbers leave the spectacular mess behind, the 6 inches of like discarded papers and discarded ruby rings and whatnot, but they also left police a very poetic message on the wall. It said, "Without weapons, without violence, without hate." In French, but that's like translated to English, of course. So detectives were, working their way through the vault. They see this gigantic like message on the wall. Without weapons, without violence, without hate. And they're like, okay, well, we've got to figure that one out. Then they look up and they see a 2-foot wide tunnel that was chiseled through 18 inches of reinforced concrete. And then they decided amongst themselves who would be sent through the tunnel.
Pierre.
Pierre.
With no pants.
Pierre with no pants.
Get in the tunnel.
He had to go home and get a spare pair of pants. His wife was like,
get it together, Pierre.
Are you having an affair? Like, what's going on here? What kind of person plans a bank heist? Like what kind of like narcissist thinks that they can get away with that?
I don't know.
Is it even a narcissist or just someone who's like, just like an optimist? Like,
yeah, I'm getting vibes I forget already the phrase that no violence.
Without weapons, without violence, without hate.
It's making me think like, it's definitely not one person, it's a group of
you're
robbers.
Getting group vibes.
Oh, for sure. I don't think it's just a single person, but I feel like it's some kind of group that's trying to go against the regime. It's like a political statement.
Okay, interesting theory.
And if you ever watched the show Money Heist, they rob a bank, and it's a Spanish show that gets dubbed.
Have you seen it recently?
Oh yeah.
I've never heard of this. Should I watch it?
So good. I know how you feel about foreign shows with like not great dubbing.
The dubbing needs to be done well, and then I do like it.
It is done well.
It needs to be like,
you notice it, obviously.
High quality dubbing.
And it gets better, but Money Heist was #1 on Netflix for years.
I'll definitely watch it then. I
would watch again.
I like watching. I'm just intrigued by heists, like people that are able to pull it off, especially when they're not caught.
So it reminded me of Money Heist from like the more like political Money Heist, what the motive is for. But then the digging the tunnel reminds me of Shawshank Redemption.
I knew you were going to say that.
Andy Dufresne.
I just wait, because it gives those vibes for sure.
Hell yeah.
So today's mystery, like I said, is a solved one. So we're about to meet the criminal masterminds behind what would be eventually called the Wine and Cheese Heist of 1976. So this is that story. So the brain of the operation was named Albert Spaggiari, and he was a 44-year-old photographer by trade. And he went by Bert. That was his nickname. That's what we'll call him in this story. And he owned his own photo shop where people would bring their negatives to be developed. And he was also hired to be a photographer for weddings, banquets, etc. His wife, Marcelle, was a registered nurse, and she worked out of a small office next to Bert's photo shop. So they seemed to be just a normal couple.
Bert had his side hustles.
Bert evidently had some side hustles. So Marcelle and Bert had been married for 17 years. They didn't have any kids, but they seemed to be happy. And in the early 70s, they had actually bought an abandoned farm in the country and fixed it up. They planted a whole garden and stalks of corn and even raised chickens on their farm. And Bert loved it so much that he talked about selling his Photoshop and moving out to the farm permanently.
Sounds nice.
It does sound nice, right? Like just casually having like a farm with chickens. Like, okay.
I'd like a couple of pigs.
You'd like a couple of pigs. No chickens? Chickens are valuable with like the eggs of it all.
I follow a pig on Instagram. He's famous. Merlin. Shout out Merlin.
I'm familiar with Merlin. He's the king of Instagram.
He's sassy.
He is sassy.
He is such a sassy pig, but that's why I love it.
He like free roams around their house, like the owner's house.
The owners.
He goes like up and down like the stairs in like a typical
He has all
house.
these buttons, and he noses the buttons, and it will like say, you know. And he was actually very polite today. He was saying his pleases, whereas usually he's just very to the point.
He knows which buttons will give him food, rewards.
Yeah.
So he doesn't. It's not that he knows what it means, in my opinion. Maybe he does.
Merlin's smart.
I think maybe pigs are smarter than us. Who knows? Anyway, so Marcel and Bert, they have this farm. Bert is literally a chicken farmer. So how did this guy get involved with one of the biggest heists of the century, and not only get involved, but quite literally be the brains of the operation? Like the French police referred to Bert once they figured this all out as the brain. So, you know, how did he orchestrate this? So Bert formed a criminal group during this called the Sewer Gang. So that is who we're looking at here. And together they committed this crime. I was like crime / heist. But how did it all come together? What was the inspiration? Well, Bert had rented a safe deposit box at the bank. This is Societe Generale, 2 years before the heist. And when he went to the bank to access his box, like every so often, which was inside of the vault, he had, like we all do, an intrusive thought. He thought to himself, what would happen if I robbed the place? And he had this like intrusive thought to the point where he started to believe that he could do it. And so one of the visits, he happened to actually find himself in the vault all by himself. Like usually you were like escorted by a bank employee or something, and, you know, they let you in and then you did your business, took out or put in whatever you want, and then they, you know, lock it up, escort you back upstairs type of vibe. So he found himself in the vault by himself. And because he's a photographer, he happened to have his camera on him. So he whips out his camera and starts taking pictures of the vault.
So he was casing the joint out.
Yeah. And allegedly he didn't go in with that idea that he was going to do that. But he was like, oh, I found myself in a situation here.
He saw an opportunity.
He saw an opportunity and he took it. So he first did that. So he had photos of the inside of the vault. And then next he decided to scout out the sewers. So for 6 nights, Bert explored the sewers below the city. And oftentimes he got lost down there. Unlike the Paris sewer system, those in Nice have no street signs, like underground. So it's easy to get turned around and like not realize where you are, like from underground, like what is above you. And so if he found himself lost, he would simply just venture up through a manhole cover. He would like climb one of those ladders and just like peep his head out of a manhole and look around and be like, okay, yeah, I'm on this street, these cross streets. Like,
I mean, I think it's fair for the government to assume we don't need to, you know, have heavy signage in the sewer system.
Well, it's more so for the people that work down there.
Sure.
Like when things are broken or whatnot, like people who are supposed to be down there, like they also, I mean, nowadays there's definitely like crazy technology where they could like just look on their phone and be like, oh, I know where I am.
True.
Even without service underground or something. So while he was down here, like it was dangerous. You know, if a flash flood were to strike or if too many toilets flushed at once, it could have killed him. But he was determined. Like, would you do this for $10 million? Explore the sewers underneath New York City?
For 10 million?
For 10 million?
I'd be in the sewer.
Not a guaranteed 10 million, like potential 10 million.
Yeah.
Like he didn't even know for sure that he would be able to pull this off.
Oh, I'd be in the sewers.
You'd be in the sewers.
I'd be in the sewers. In this economy?
True.
I'd be swimming in the sewers.
With the rats.
Gleefully.
Okay. I don't know if that's like a green flag or a red flag.
On the topic, though, of toilets flushing, I read this is what happens. I read these random articles. It was the volume of water flushing happening during the halftime show of the Super Bowl, and it was drastically down because everyone was so locked in
to Bad
on
Bunny.
Bad Bunny.
And then they waited till right after. I saw that too in New York specifically.
Yeah.
Everyone, I mean, we weren't, actually, we were here.
We watched it.
Oh my God, why did I think, I like just blacked out and forgot where I was on the Super Bowl Sunday.
I mean, it was a terrible game.
We probably did the same thing, honestly. I probably contributed to that.
Well, yeah, most just didn't. It was just a time where people were just so focused on the TV.
Yeah, not going to the bathroom, and then everyone ran for the toilet afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm happy for the Seahawks, but that was a terrible Super Bowl. As a neutral, I didn't really have any skin in the game. I was incredibly bored.
I was intrigued by the ads and Bad Bunny. Love Bad Bunny. Anyway, so Bert is underground. Bert is exploring the sewers, and he was on a mission to understand the sewer system so he could find a way into the vault from the outside. So he then ventured to town hall and got his hands on the city's sewer plans, which actually are public property. Builders ask for them all the time so they can make sure that they don't, build in the wrong spot, accidentally drill into the sewer lines or something, or like do something, something like that. So sewer plans are public property. He gets the blueprints to the sewer system, and then he also found out from a friend that the bank vault had no alarms. So he put all of these pieces together in his mind and realized, wait a second, I think I could pull this off.
So this bank is asking to be robbed.
Yeah. He's like, wait, I have all of the puzzle pieces and I just have to put them all together. But he soon realized, although he had like a strategy to do the thing, he didn't have the money to buy all of the tools that he would need to dig this like elaborate tunnel and break into the vault. So
you got to spend money to make money, baby.
Yeah, but he didn't have a lot.
You got to spend money
farmer
to make that 10 mil.
So he decided to ask around in some trusted circles and see if anyone would be interested in going in on the heist with him. So he ended up approaching not just anybody, he approached organized crime families in Marseille to recruit.
Just your standard Nice capital raise for a local bank heist.
With like known criminals. And that is how the sewer gang was born. So for 2 months, night after night, the sewer gang dug their secret tunnel. And there was actually 20 men in total. And most of them were tasked with hauling tools in and dirt out night after night. The tunnel, all in all, was approximately 30 feet long, so about the length of a school bus, 2 feet wide and 20 inches high, and was reinforced with wooden and metal supports, wired with electricity stolen from a nearby parking structure. And they even carpeted it. They put carpet inside to reduce noise. And it also made them a little bit more comfortable when they were like, scooting through it.
Well, you said earlier it was the wine and cheese heist, right?
Yeah, they were bougie.
Yeah,
they put carpet in their tunnel.
They probably had some champagne down there.
So it was a very sophisticated and by all accounts, like kind of bougie.
A comfortable heist.
Yeah, it was a comfortable heist. And every morning they, as they were working on this for the 2 months, they would seal off the entrance, making sure that no unsuspecting sewer workers would stumble upon their work. And no one did. And then came the day the heist began, which was Friday, July 17th, 1976, Bastille Day weekend, if you will. So as soon as the bank closed for the holiday weekend, they struck, breaking through the final 18 inches of reinforced concrete. So they had gotten like pretty much all the way there, drilling for the amount of time that they did leading up. And then they just finished it off on Friday, July 17th, the final 18 inches they got through. But once they burst through the concrete wall, they realized that there was still something in the way of their tunnel. Like they got through and they were like, wait a second, like what is that? It wasn't concrete, it was something harder than that. Turns out it was the back of an armored cabinet that must have weighed about 5 tons. So a minor but also major roadblock.
That cabinet wasn't there when Bert was in there by himself taking pictures?
Either it wasn't, maybe it was moved, Or it was and he just miscalculated. Something like that. I didn't figure out like whether or not. I think it must have been like a slight miscalculation.
But it was a shock. They were surprised.
Yeah, they were like, what is this?
To come across it.
We got through the wall. We got through like, you know, the hardest part. What is this? So luckily Bert came prepared. They had a surplus of tools on this investigation. So the team used a jack to tilt the cabinet forward out of the way of the tunnel opening. And then they used wooden braces to slowly lower it to the ground. So 5 tons, and they're like slowly turning it so they could get through.
Yeah, because if that falls, it's going to make such a racket.
That's literally what I have next because, yeah, the movements need to be so precise and so careful because one wrong move and the noise of a 5-ton cabinet tumbling over would definitely have alerted like the whole city. Like that's a loud noise. So the thieves slowly lowered it down without a sound and climbed over it, landing inside of the vault. Before they got to work on opening up all the safety deposit boxes, the thieves decided to first weld the vault door shut so that no light or smoke or noise could escape, blowing their cover. So like I said, they were sophisticated criminals. Like this was not their first rodeo. They knew a thing or two about how to commit the perfect crime.
Yeah, and they were in there on a holiday, so they weren't going to be interrupted by a worker,
right,
for maybe 24 hours.
But just in case, they were like, let's weld this thing shut. Also, it would make it harder, which we saw in the beginning of the story, once Monday morning hit.
It just delays finding.
Yeah, so it gives them plenty of time to get away, that sort of thing. So, and the most interesting thing about this heist in particular is the fact that the thieves really didn't seem to be in any sort of hurry at all. No hurry at all. They took their time in the vault. They didn't just, rush in and out with their loot like you usually see in the movies and like every other heist story I've ever read. I feel like there's always like a big rush about it. But they took their time. Over the next 2.5 days, the sewer gang cut open safes and 317 safe deposit boxes, looting cash, gold bars, bearer bonds, jewels, etc. So they were there for 2.5 days. And so, because they were there for that long, while they were working, they also cooked meals inside of the vault with their portable stove. They drank wine, they hung out, they had themselves a picnic while they worked. Like, they were in no rush at all. They even slept there. They just hung out.
They hung out. Grand time.
They had a grand old time inside of the bank vault. And they were like, probably like having a great time, like chatting through everything they were finding inside. Like they were just like having a field day.
I just picture them
treasure
just,
hunt,
smoking cigarettes in the tunnel.
You know what? I didn't get anything about cigarettes, but I wonder. I feel like they had to have.
France,
it's the 70s.
In the 70s.
They had to have been smoking cigs. There's probably cigarette butts galore inside of that place. I feel like the police probably didn't even like note that because they're like, obviously there were cigarette butts. Like,
yeah, well, back then
goes without saying.
Back then, people would smoke inside anyway.
True. So they were probably like, oh, well, like there's cigarette butts on the floor of the bank in general. Like everyone's just smoking everywhere. Anyway, so yeah. By 5 a.m. Monday morning, the sewer gang had gathered up a sizable haul of loot, and they were about to leave the vault, leaving the evidence of their picnic behind and like the 6-inch sea of paper. But as they were leaving, someone said, hey, wait a second. We should write a message on the wall. And so at first, they kind of wanted to like mess with the police, and they were like, we should write Merci, Monsieur le Directeur on the wall. So like, thank you, Mr. Director. Like, thank you for our loot, pretty much. But then they were like, wait a minute, no, that's like too boring. They said, literally, that's too boring. We need to think of something better, more political, because like, let's, stir the pot a little bit. So that's when they came up with without weapons, without violence, without hate. And that is what they ended up writing on the wall right before they left. It was kind of like a game time decision. That wasn't something that they went in to the heist thinking they were going to write, but they ended up writing that on the wall. And they left behind the huge mess, but also not a single fingerprint. They were well prepared, either wearing gloves or like wiping down surfaces. Like they left really nothing identifiable behind at this point. The image of thieves just calmly inside of this bank vault, enjoying wine and cheese, while pinching over $10 million baffled everyone as they were like sifting through all the stuff, which this was a really lengthy investigation that required a lot of manpower because there was so much stuff left behind that had to be cataloged. And so they're going through all of this and they're trying to get a read on like, who were these people? Like, what kind of criminals are so confident that they're going to stay for 2.5 days and have a wine and cheese party? So they had this huge job ahead of them because the sewer gang were confusing for this reason, but also they didn't leave them a clear trail. They had the tunnel, which I'll get to in more detail, but because a lot of these men were mafia men, career criminals, they were very sophisticated and smart. So, speaking of the tunnel, at this point in our story, the heist has been done, the men have disappeared, and now an investigator is being sent through the tunnel. Remember when I said they were like trying to pick, okay, who's going to go through the tunnel that they'd created in the wall that led to the sewer system? So the chosen detective wiggled through the tunnel and thought to himself, wow, this is impressive. Like, it was barely big enough for a man to crawl through, but it was 30 feet long. So like I said, the length of a school bus, and it had been secretively carved from scratch by these criminals, carpeted, ventilated. There was even electricity, like I said. It was all kitted out. And once the investigator got to the end of the tunnel, it of course connected to the sewer system. But this was kind of the last bit that they like truly understood. But then they were like, wait, where did they go once they got out? Like, this was clearly their exit and entrance strategy, the sewer criminals. But where did they go once they got into the sewer? So detectives they spent 10 days exploring the sewers, trying to figure out the exit strategy. And they were stumped. They could not figure it out. But luckily for them, two criminals named Daniel Michelucci and Gerard Vigier messed up big time. Of course, like the risk of having 20 people involved in this game.
Always going to be one.
At least one is going to slip up and betray the whole operation. So Daniel Michelucci and Gerard Vigier were two known criminals in the Marseille crime family underworld. A few nights before the heist, a French law enforcement officer named Valentin Boschetti was out driving his car when he just so happened to look over and see Daniel Michelucci driving in the car next to him with another guy that he couldn't recognize. So Valentin knew that Daniel was a known criminal in the area, but he didn't know who the other person in the car was. And while he had no cause to arrest Daniel, like Daniel wasn't breaking the law, he was a criminal, but like he currently wasn't breaking the law. He was just like in his car. But Valentin was suspicious of like who his friend was, and he wanted to like stay in the know of like, okay, who's involved in this crime family? Like who knows who's like in cahoots with who. He just decided to pull them over for a routine police stop. So he came up with some like reason, or maybe he didn't even come up with a reason. Back in the day in the 70s, he just like pulled them over. Then on a whim, he decided to search their car. In New York, this would constitute an illegal search, and a detective might get prosecuted for doing this. But in France, especially during the 70s, Boschetti was perfectly allowed to do this, and also probably would have gotten a medal for doing this. In the trunk, Boschetti found some chisels. They were about 18 inches long, made of steel, sharp, and painted red. Inspector Boschetti took note of this, but alas, no crime had been committed. This was a few nights before the heist. So at this point, they had these chisels, but like they could be perfectly reasonably.
They weren't able to connect the dots then.
Exactly. So Boschetti let Daniel Michelucci and his friend and their red chisels go. And this ended up being a huge key to solving this mystery, these red chisels. By chance, and because like every investigator in like Nice was on the case, like as soon as this heist happened, it was huge news. So like everyone was like boots on the ground, let's get in there and try to help the investigation. Boschetti was one of the men assigned to go through all of the discarded tools in the bank vault. As soon as he locked eyes with the muddy red chisels on the floor of the vault, Boschetti was like, wait a second, I've seen those somewhere before.
Damn.
He picked up one of the chisels and said to his boss, I controlled a car carrying a trunk load of these things just the other night. And he told them that it was Daniel Michelucci's trunk that he'd seen them in. So they're figuring this out. But then Daniel Michelucci's name comes up again. Back on July 9th, so 8 days before the heist, police got a call about a suspicious villa, which was supposed to be empty but had strange men occupying it. So like one of the neighbors called it in. The villa was located in a town 15 miles from Nice, where the robbery would eventually happen. Two officers drove up and checked the identities of the 5 men that they found inside of the villa. And they were playing things really cool, once they got there. Like, of course, the criminals were like, guys, chill. Like, the owner gave us permission to be here, yada, yada, yada.
The sewer gang headquarters.
But the officers still, did their job and took down all these names of the people that were there. And what were those names? Well, they were Daniel Michelucci and 4 other known mafia men. When police went back to the villa after the crime, they found a rather uncommon, watertight flashlight that was exactly like the other flashlights that were found in the vault. They also found boots caked with mud, the mud that was found in the tunnel, which labs confirmed is the same mud that is found in Nice's sewer system, and also cigarette butts and wine bottles similar to those left behind at the bank vault.
Knew there'd be some cigarette butts.
So there were cigarette butts. I guess I forgot that detail earlier.
I knew there'd be some cigarettes
You knew
involved.
it. So, like you said, the villa must have been the gang's headquarters leading up to the heist. And now police were hot on the trail of Daniel Michelucci, the dummy.
Michelucci.
I mean, it's funny because, all of his errors were made before the heist. But, of course, it was difficult to track Daniel down. So they hit a dead end. Police were worried that, by this point, all of the robbers had fled France, changed their names, reinvented their lives, gotten plastic surgery.
And if there's mafia involvement, people aren't going to snitch.
People aren't going to snitch. And they're also going to try to get out of Dodge as quickly as possible, or just remain so low profile that they're hidden in plain sight.
Yeah.
One of the two. So the police were worried. They're like, we don't want to be too loud and proud about this and putting out press releases or anything about these specific people we're on the hunt for, because
also,
we don't want them to get spooked and leave.
Also, Italy, that era, mafia, there'd have been a lot of corrupt cops probably working the case that were in bed with the mafia.
Interesting theory. We're in France, but yes.
France.
We're in France. But you know what?
I was in the right
Probably the same sort of
Europe.
thing. I'd imagine there were corrupt French cops as well.
That's crazy. My brain just went straight to Italians.
Well, I was saying Bellucci, which is an Italian name,
True.
Inspector Bellucci. He's a big guy in this case. Anyway.
Ignore me.
Police are trying to keep things as low profile as possible as they're tracking down these people. But then a branch of the Societe Generale Bank, so the same parent company of the bank that was heisted in the beginning of the story, the branch in Paris was then looted via the sewer system.
Oh, so they were...
So police were like, okay, hold up. Is this the same exact MO, the same exact group of people that pulled off this heist?
They're probably
now?
if you'd have just been content with your one heist, you might have got away with it.
Well, here's the thing. It actually turned out to be a copycat crime. So it was a different heist, different group of people. It was not as sophisticated.
People got inspired by the Nice one.
Right. They heard about it. They're like, wait a minute. We could do the exact same thing. They wouldn't see it coming. They wouldn't see it coming. The same exact crime. Anyway, so...
They saw it coming.
They realized that it wasn't the same group because the Paris heist was sloppily executed. Though the robbers hadn't been caught in the act, they were still... It was just not the same tactics.
Bert would never.
Luckily, they did end up getting a huge breakthrough in the original Nice bank heist case about 3 months after the robbery. A man walked into a local bank, so a smaller bank, trying to sell numbered gold bars stolen from the Societe Generale vault, like an absolute idiot. The serial numbers never lie, guys. That is the oldest trick in the book, is to make sure you don't have anything with serial numbers.
And you got to launder.
That can be traced, or you've
got to launder, and you have to make dirty money clean.
Right. Through the casinos.
Casinos, car washes.
We're not
strip clubs.
Condoning this behavior. I just watch a lot of movies where I know that's how they do it. Yeah.
And a Swiss bank account always helps as well.
So a man walks into the local bank trying to sell numbered gold bars. Within 48 hours, 2 accomplices from the heist, Francis Pellegrin and Elaine Bernat, were in custody. So they were the guys who tried to sell the gold bars. So police finally had their hands on 2 people who knew a thing or two about the heist. So 100 days into the investigation, we're now on day 100, police had spent endless hours doing surveillance, trying to nail down who was involved in the heist, while also, like I said, trying to be as subtle and under the radar as possible so no one would flee the country. So they were trying really hard to put all these pieces together. I imagine they had one of those walls with like people's pictures and like the tacks and whatnot, and they were trying to connect the dots, and they had all these like pictures of people's,
20 different faces.
Yeah, they
like
had
the
like
spider's
people up
web.
there, and they were trying to figure out, like who done it. So they'd done all this work, and 100 days in, October 26, 1976, they decided to do something huge. They detained 27 people of interest, under France's interpolation procedure, which I had to look into this because I was like, interpolation procedure. I can hardly pronounce that. It's actually really interesting. So in France, being interpolated doesn't necessarily mean that you're being formally charged with a crime. It means the police have strong reasons to suspect you and are taking you into custody to ask questions and investigate.
Okay.
So they don't really have they're not going to formally charge you, which I feel like, it's not like.
Well, what's it called when it's not reasonable doubt. It's, let's say, you can't just in America as a police officer go up and,
you can't bring someone
go in someone's car, but if there's
you need evidence.
Smells coming out of a car, you can pull them over and request to take a look.
Right, you need cause. You need there is
probable cause.
Probable cause. That's it.
Probable cause.
That's it. You guys, we need to take a police course or something so we know all the lingo for this podcast.
I took a criminal justice class my freshman year of college.
I wish I had the opportunity to take a class like that in college. That would have
I loved it.
Been really great. Right. So different, interpolation in France is different from the US, where here an arrest usually means that police already have enough evidence to charge you right away.
Yeah.
In France, at least for one crime, they might not be able to charge you for murder, for example, but they can charge you for overdue parking tickets or something. They need to have something to charge you with.
To hold you.
That's based on my research. Correct me if I'm wrong. But in France, the system is built around investigating first and accusing later. So once someone is interpolated, they're placed in police custody. And in the 70s, this could last up to 48 hours. During the 48 hours, police had the freedom to question the suspect. Access to a lawyer was limited, and police didn't have to immediately show all the evidence they had. So it put them in a good position to really hammer in on a suspect and get information. And probably also, in some not so by the book ways, get information out of people. I'd imagine there was some shady stuff going on in the 70s with the police, maybe forcing some confessions and whatnot. But they detained 27 people. So they were aiming to get a lot of information.
They wanted some juice.
Most of the people they detained were released within the 48 hours. However, 7 were charged with crimes. But the brain, Bert, remained at large. They still didn't know. They didn't know that there was a brain. They didn't know that there was one person that was
Bert was on his chicken farm just collecting eggs.
Well, actually, the crazy part is he left the chicken farm for a bit. He took a trip across the pond to the United States. And get this, he allegedly tried to sell his services to the CIA here in the U.S. Bert, after accomplishing this huge crime, was I want to go to the U.S. He flew to the U.S. and went to the CIA, allegedly. And he was hey, I pulled off this heist in France and I'm capable of helping you guys out with your operations here. So I don't know if this was him trying to seek asylum, trying to get away so he wouldn't be prosecuted or found out, start a new life in America working for the CIA.
There's a bunch of shows like that. I think there's a show called White Collar.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all about someone that fakes identities or something. And basically, you got to, with a white collar crime, a con artist.
Right.
And either the FBI, CIA, they hire him to catch other con artists.
Right. Which honestly, like...
You got to be one to know one.
Exactly. The CIA declined Bert's offer, of course. And
no
then
thanks, Bert.
Bert returned to France. And it's wild to me that he... Once again, I feel like he must be a narcissist because he was like, okay, but he didn't think that the CIA would turn him in. That would like rat him out to the French authorities.
The CIA were like, let's call our friends in the French embassy. Bert, crazy Bert.
Yeah, so that's exactly what they did. They got in touch with French police, tipped him off, and that helped lead to his eventual arrest when he came back to France.
That's a dangerous man. Someone that's got enough confidence, one, to pull off the heist, and then have the balls to go to the States and be like, hey, CIA,
hey, I can help you out.
Hire me.
Right.
He needs to be behind bars.
Exactly.
That's a crazy man.
He's a crazy man. So after a period of quiet surveillance, police finally found Bert and took him into custody on October 28th, 1976, day after my birthday. Over the next 36 hours of questioning, investigators pressed Bert with inconsistencies in his story, insider knowledge that only the planner could have known, and an Interpol report stating that someone had used his identity and contacted the CIA, which was probably him. Bert finally cracked under the pressure and went on to describe in detail how the robbery was conceived, how the tunnel was dug, and how the operation was carried out. So that's how we have all the information. Like Bert literally told us how he did it. And then he actually took investigators down to the vault with him to show him, like he showed them exactly how he did it. However, Bert refused to identify any of his partners.
Respectable.
And claimed his portion of the stolen money had been given to a political cause, which they couldn't verify. They actually never really figured out what he did with the money for sure. But in the end, only a small portion of the missing funds were ever found. But that is not the end of the story because things get a little crazy after that. So they found Bert. They found the brain. But things get interesting again at the trial. On March 10th, 1977, with his trial still looming, Albert Spaggiari was escorted into an office for questioning by a judge. So like preliminary questioning before the trial. In a sudden burst of motion, Bert bolted for the window, launched himself into the air, crashed onto a parked car several stories below, and vanished, escaping on the back of a motorcycle driven by an accomplice waiting down below.
Okay, Bert.
And he completely disappeared. He completely disappeared.
Forever?
When the case finally went to trial, Bert was still on the run and nowhere to be found, but his accomplices that were found, which I believe was like about 7 of them, were still in custody, so they went to trial without him. Dominic Poggi, Gerard Vigier, and Marie-Francois Astolfi were acquitted. Elaine Bernat and Francis Pellegrin were each sentenced to 5 years in prison, while Daniel Michelucci received 7 years. Albert Spaggiari himself, even though he was gone without a trace, was later sentenced to life in prison in November of 1979, although no one knew where he was. So he was sentenced, but they couldn't find him.
Surely they find him.
From that moment on, Bert lived on the run. He fled France and spent the next decade or more living as a fugitive, moving between Argentina and Italy, hiding behind fake names and borrowed lives. French authorities continued to try and track him down, but they never found him.
Wow.
While he was alive, that is. Albert Spaggiari died on June 9th, 1989, reportedly from lung cancer, after smoking all those cigs. Still a wanted man.
Those cigs in the tunnel.
But he never served a day of his life sentence.
What a life.
After his death, his body was quietly returned to his mother's house in France, and that was that.
So where did they find his body?
Like,
where did he die? In France?
So he died. His body was just like returned. It was all very like confusing. I actually don't know who found his body, but I assume like someone he was with. He wasn't like alone on the run. Like he had friends and like through the mafia was able to like still.
Wow. So he just.
But his body was eventually returned.
Yeeted himself out of a window, escaped on the back of a motorcycle.
Literally out of a movie.
And was never found again until he died.
Yeah. And no one ratted him out, or no one ratted out where he was. Like, I'm surprised that no one, he wasn't somehow ratted out by someone. Maybe, I don't know like how many people knew where he was, but I was told, I was told, but I read somewhere, unverified, but I read that he probably like changed his appearance.
Sure.
Like he had like prosthetics.
And just got older.
Yeah, and people were like, they just couldn't even recognize him. Because he did look kind of recognizable, like he had a recognizable look to him, so it's just
honestly,
crazy that
fair enough. The fact, like, if he'd have killed someone or someone got hurt, then you feel more like, come on.
No one was hurt. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that, like, the bank took a hit with, like, because of insurance, everyone got, like, the people whose personal funds were taken were reimbursed by insurance. The bank was insured. So that aspect was covered, but really it just was, embarrassing and probably, like, it took a lot of money from the police force to, like, try to track these people down.
Sure.
They could have been focusing on other crimes. Like, there's definitely implications of this, like, negative implications, but overall, like, pretty impressive, and no one died.
I don't know how I've never heard of that.
Yeah, the wine and cheese heist, ladies and gentlemen.
Where do you keep pulling these from?
The wine and cheese heist of 1976.
That might be my favorite one so far.
In Nice, France. What do you guys think of the robbers having a wine and cheese feast inside of the bank vault for 2.5 days while they just like casually went through all these deposit boxes?
And then Bert got away with it.
Left a cryptic message on the wall, which honestly, like, is pretty admirable. Like, yeah, no weapons, no violence.
I wonder if ever the guys and gals that got, 5-7 year sentences, once they got out, I wonder if they ever reconnected with Bert.
That's what I'm curious about, because I feel like
did they agree pre-heist, like hey,
what happens if
it all goes to shit, this is the coordinates, this is where we meet. The
meeting place, right?
Or this is where X amount of the funds will be stored, kind of as a
because here's the thing.
Plan.
They only found like a little bit of the money via like the gold bars that the serial numbers were traced and things of that nature, but like $10 million, how does that just like poof, gone without a trace? Like mafia for sure, but like it's just wild to think that it wasn't like, oh, someone just got spectacularly wealthy overnight.
Yeah,
how did that happen? Like they were so stealthy about it, most of them, and they also didn't really get that much time in prison. I mean, Bert didn't serve anything, but like they weren't even charged with that much time.
Bert got the heavy sentence.
I feel like apart from like the chisels and the gold bars, like they really didn't slip up. There were no fingerprints. They didn't really give themselves away. So it was honestly like a pretty well done crime. Although crimes, we don't condone criminal activity on this podcast, but I'm just saying, pretty impressive.
I do condone wine and cheese.
Same here. I absolutely do as well. And I really now am very hungry. So we need to go and eat dinner. Thank you guys for listening to another episode of Mystery for Two podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode number 10. Let us know what you guys thought. Comment, like, subscribe. Answer Jack's question. And with that, I will bid you farewell. Goodbye.
Cheers.